So again, welcome everyone. Thanks for joining us today. This is the kickoff with TitanApps today. We've got Julia Romankova and Alexandra Kravitz. They're gonna share with us some great smart template, smart checklist stuff on how to automate things from JSM into Jira. Anytime we can get the tools to actually do some of the work and the heavy lifting for us, that's always a win. Again, thank you all for joining us. We've got Boston, Little Rock, Kochi, India, Cleveland, London, Bhubaneswar, India, Phoenix, Hyderabad, India, and Auckland, New Zealand as other co-hosted ACE communities. So thank you one and all. Super glad to be here, and we're very excited to kick off another app hour with Titan Apps. So without further ado, I will hand the mic over to you, Yuri, Alexandra, and Julia, and let you kind of start sharing the love and passion you've poured into your product with us.
Cool. Yuri, do you want to take a word? Take a mic?
Yeah, I wanted to start with an introduction, but Dean actually did an amazing job, probably. Alexandra, that's your stage today. Heading the mic over to
Cool.
you.
Cool. Please let me know if you see my screen.
We can.
Uh,
Yes.
yeah, this is great. So yeah, thanks again, for the opportunity. Thanks for having us here, Dean. And thanks for everyone who joined. So today we're going to talk about automated repeatable processes, templates triggered from JSM. I'm already said, I'm Alexandra. I'm a product manager at TitanApps. We are a marketplace vendor on the Atlassian. We also have here with me today my beautiful team, like Julia, she's a product lead. We have Elena, who's the marketing manager, and we have Yuri, who's in charge of partnerships. A bit of agenda, I'm going to talk more about the solution, what pains we see that customers have, and how we can solve those pains for the customers. If you have any questions, feel free to drop them into the chat. I'm pretty sure that someone from my team can grab them and reply to you. Or at the end, we will have also the Q&A session where we can take a look at all of the questions and discuss them as well. Cool. I guess I mentioned everything before starting with the demo, so we can kick it off. So, repeatable processes in Jira and in JSM. I'll be talking about the real case that we see from our customers. We talk a lot to project managers. We talk a lot to Jira admins, to operations managers. So we really have a clear understanding how those user personas see repeatable processes inside Jira and what pains do they have. So today with us, we also have Melissa, who's an operation lead at a software company. And her big mission, her big task actually is to create the internal help center for her organization. So she needs a space where employees can raise internal requests, and then somehow they need to be processed. Most of these requests would be, of course, repeatable processes. So let's take a look how Melissa will tackle this task. So her vision of how she can achieve it would be actually first step to set up the company help center where employees can raise internal requests. The next thing that she needs to do is actually break down those requests for the work items or to the issues for different teams. So let's say if we're talking about the onboarding case, it can involve multiple teams. So the HR team needs to set up all of the first meetings and share the policies. The procurement team needs to send the welcome pack. The security team needs to grant accesses to the appropriate software. So there is a step where Melissa should break down this request to the issues to the according teams. Also, one of the requirements that we see our customers have a lot, it actually to have a place where the processes, those repeatable processes, they are documented and teams can manage them. So onboarding process, it's a repeatable process. So HR team needs to see somewhere, visualize this process and have an ability to manage it. For example, add some new steps or kick off unnecessary steps in order to have an ability to optimize this process. And last but not least, is actually make processes actionable, because we also see that a lot of Jira customers, or not Jira, just Atlassian customers, they tend to describe their processes somewhere on Confluence. And what is on Confluence, like you can't tell whether this process is followed or not. So in order to make sure that actually teams that complete those processes, they are compliant with their processes, and in order to do that, we need to make those processes actionable. So with all of the requirements, Melissa needs to find someone who can help her with fulfilling those requirements. And in our case, she will go to Max, who's a Jira admin, and they will start to shape all those requirements and turn them to solutions, to Atlassian solutions, of course. So with the company help center, it's pretty easy and obvious that we will be using the Jira Service Management Help Center for just listing all of the internal services and have it like a catalog. The next thing, in order to have those services like broken down to different tasks, we'll be using Jira. So different teams, as I've already mentioned, like HR, procurement, security, they can use different Jira projects or have them all. We can have them all in one place, like in one project, but they will be using Jira boards. It's really up to Melissa or to your preference. And then when we go actually to processes, in order to have those processes somewhere documented, shared with the team, and in order to make those processes actionable, there is no straightforward tool or feature within the Atlassian how you can do this. We see a lot of workarounds that you can play with, and which can work actually. But let's take a look closer, like why those workarounds, where are the gaps within those workarounds? So Melissa and Max get together and start to think like, okay, so what would be the possible solutions or possible workarounds in order to document processes and make them actionable in order to add those checkpoints. So one of the pretty common workaround actually to do that is to set up the automation rule for the repeatable issues. So let's say we're creating the onboarding request from the JSM portal, and then if it needs to be broken down to different issues for different teams in different projects or different boards, we can just set up the automation rule for those. Pretty often, this automation rule would be a bit complex. And Melissa would say to Max, like, hey, it's not going to work because like my teams won't have the ability to access this process, and therefore they won't have an ability to adjust it for their needs. Because you won't just give the permission to the automation rule for everyone in the team. So how I will be sharing like the knowledge of how the processes should be run. So that's why like we skip this first workaround. The next one would be like, let's just clone repeatable issues. So you've already done onboarding once for one of the person. If you need to done it like for another person, just clone this repeatable issue, like Jira has this functionality. Which again, Melissa would say, like, if you would go and teach my team how to find the appropriate piece of work in Jira, clone it, and then delete all of the unnecessary information, like from the previous ticket, then it can work. But of course, like Max won't do that. So they will skip this workaround, and Max will have like another like card. It's actually, so in order to make those processes actionable, let's just add the level description with instructions how it needs to be followed. Which is again, is not an option. Like descriptions are great, but you can't even track like if the SME has read like this description before they started to complete the task. So you can say whether your team followed actually the processes or not. So that's why we still can play like with all of the workarounds. But for Melissa and for Max, it's not going to work. So instead of playing with workarounds, they're trying to find the real solutions. And how actually to move from those workarounds to the real solutions. We have both of those solutions on the marketplace. Since 2017, like we're having smart checklists and we're having smart templates. I'm not going to stop like whether it's cool app or not. I'm just going to show you what it can do. So with the smart templates, you can actually document your processes right inside Jira, not somewhere in Confluence, on Google Sheets, or somewhere else, but they will be right inside Jira. So smart templates will help you to turn your repetitive issues actually to the hub of the processes right inside Jira. So you can turn any repeatable process to the issue template, and like, let's take onboarding again, or the recruitment. You can just take the process, you break it down to issues, you share these templates with your teams, and this is like each team member in your team, they can go to the list of processes and see how it needs to be followed. So this is about the smart templates. And with a smart checklist has a really powerful, it's a really powerful tool to make all of your processes, make all of your issues or work items, like, how do you call it, actionable. So you can break down issues to smaller tasks. You do not abuse subtasks, so you do not create like 100 subtasks on how the issue should be done, but instead you just break it down to the checklist. It's actionable. We have a history of who done what, like who checked the checklist item, who adds the checklist item or delete it. And this is how you make your process actionable. And yeah, like after this page, let's actually go to Jira and let's take a look how to set up, how the setup looks in real life. So again, to remind you the idea, again, like we're having the help center. In the help center, we have internal services. So it can be onboard the new employee, request a piece of ware to be created, to have the vendor payment request, or just to travel request to office. And what we want to achieve, once the request is created, we want to break it down to different teams so they have the issues that they can work with. Under the hood, like we have those processes set up with the smart templates. So here is the smart templates. This is how you can document your processes. In our case, let's again take a look at the onboarding process. We take this process, we break it down to different issues. So we have a different issue for the onboardee, like how he or she should proceed with the company onboarding. We have the separate task for legal, for the security team, for the procurement team. All of this, they are set up as an issue templates here inside the project. Teams can trigger the issue creation of those issues on demand, or like we will have a cool automation that would link actually our request from the help center to those issues inside the specific project from the specific template. So let's actually try it out, like how it works. You go here, you create the new request to onboard the new employee. For example, let's onboard Dean for the product manager position at TitanApps. Sorry, Dean. Your manager will be me, and the responsible HR will be Yulia. We also have the start date. We send the request. We see that the request is created. And again, like what we try to achieve, like in the separate project, not a JSM one, we want to create issues for the Dean onboarding from this specific issue template. Let me reload the page. And let me do it like this. So we're going to our onboarding template. And here we have the history of all the issues that have been created. And as you can see, there is the sequence of issues that have been created to the Dean onboarding. What we've also done, like we extracted the important information from the JSM portal, like Dean, the position, the project we want to onboard Dean for. And we added it like to the issue template. So issue templates are also really dynamic. So you can replace every time like the onboardee, the project, the position. We added it here as an issue template. Now, actually, my team doesn't need to think of like, okay, we need to onboard Dean. Like, should I create one issue for that? Or should I look for the policies somewhere on Confluence, how it needs to be processed? Like all of the issues are created here. We also have not just one issue, but the hierarchy of issues. So you can see here, there are some other tasks, and those tasks are actually actionable because you can see that we have those small checkboxes, small pieces of work that should be done within this task. And once you like go over the checklist, you can also see the smart checklist history. So Melissa actually can check like, okay, so this filling out the form, like it was done like by me, or this specific checklist item was deleted. And that's pretty all. So like with both tools, like we connected the JSM with actual processes in Jira. They are set up once and they can be adjusted on the go. So with both of those solutions, we also give the teams, in our case, it would be the HR team, we also give a possibility to having their processes adjusted on the go. So for example, we want to optimize the onboarding process and add several steps or get rid of several steps. I don't need like to go to the Jira admin and ask him like, hey, please update the automation for me, because it would be really a bottleneck in the process. So we make like the Jira admin happy because they just set it up one and team uses it. We made the teams happy because they, first of all, like they're having processes inside Jira, not in external tools. They can manage those processes and they don't even need like to turn to the project manager or to the Jira admin in order to adjust those processes. And we made everyone happy. Like I'm not even talking about on saving like how many automation rules runs we've saved and actually how many seats of agents we saved on the JSM project. So it's really powerful. Another thing actually that I want to wrap up with is a pretty cool phrase from the managing director from our parent company, which is Railsware, is that people come and go, but the processes must stay with the company forever. So even if Melissa would be fired, those processes are set up forever in the company and they can be adjusted. Wow, that was quick because when I rehearsed it, it took me a while. So I was really worried like to not bore you with a lot of technicality. But if you have any questions to ask, like we can go into technical details or any other questions, like I will be happy to answer. Julia, do we have anything in our chat?
We do have. Okay, so we've been chatting with Felix. If you would like to talk through your case, we can check it. If you received your answer, then so let us know.
I came in a little late. Is there a way to get a copy of the recording?
Absolutely, Julia. I'm happy to send you a recording if you want to private message me your email address, and I will get you a recording right after it's done.
Perfect. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Actually, Felix have a pretty cool question. Like, can we create this? Can we add the smart checklist? Have it appear on the certain issue types or the certain services or teams? So the flow that I've showed you is actually a pretty end-to-end flow, but you can like combine different tools of us. So for example, you can just use smart checklist and add those checklists based on the request types. If I'm not mistaken, we have even the automation here, and we do have the checklist added here on the request type. Yes, we do. So you can set up an automation that if you want to make sure that the specific request is compliant with some internal steps, you can say, hey, so we have the checklist for the onboarding. In order to complete the onboarding request, you need to do this, and that. And you can add it per the request type or per the issue type. And another thing that you can actually do is even to show this checklist in the read-only mode on the JSM portal. So it's like both accessible from the JSM portal, but if I go to the agents view, I have this checklist as actionable. So I have those checkboxes here, and I can go and complete it.
No, that pretty much answers my question. Thank you.
I see we have another question from Tanya. She's looking into automating change communication within the ticket itself. Does this have the ability to do that for us?
It really depends on what you mean by change communication within the ticket itself. If you can comment on it, it would be great.
Yeah, I also did not get that.
So
Sorry.
what we're looking to do, instead of sending out emails separate from the ticket, what we're wanting to do is to actually use our ticket itself, our change record, to actually do the communication for us. And we're wanting to build in a process to automate that piece of it. Is the smart checklist the way to do that?
Could you please give an example? So instead of, to understand it correctly, instead of relying on the emails that you receive from the system, like to check the changes of that were made, like history of the ticket.
So what we're wanting to do is to, once we get ready to implement the change, and it
Mm-hmm.
goes from awaiting implementation to implementation,
Mm-hmm.
is there a way to use the smart checklist to actually set up a step where you can actually just say awaiting implementation or implementing, and then it automatically sends an email out so we don't have to send it to our business partners?
So I can comment on it. So what you can do, again, like if you want to process the request in a more transparent way, like you can display the checklist on the JSM portal. So let's again like use this request on the JSM portal. It's here, and the requester, like who requested the change, would have an ability to see the progress of how this change is implemented. Where the completed checklist items, or where the checklist items that are, for example, in the progress. We also, like it's important to understand that both of the tools, checklist and issue templates, are deeply integrated within the automation for Jira. So you can track those changes that, hey, if the review, if all required data is added, checklist item is done, then please send the email for that.
So
it is possible.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I'll let hear. Yeah. So for, as Alexandra mentioned, you can have this checklist within JSM ticket for transparency. Like one checklist item could be waiting for the change, and the next would be like changes are actually implemented, and you can mark that as done. Another way to handle it would be to play with the statuses. So the checklist item itself would represent the change, and then it can have different statuses like awaiting or implemented. And yes, we can send the emails once the checklist item is updated. So there is an option.
And so are we doing that? Are we sending that email out via automation or within the smart checklist or smart template?
Built-in feature. It is a built-in
nice.
feature.
Okay.
Yeah.
But if you want, for example, like additional actions to be completed, like if the automation for Jira has an action, for example, to add a comment here or to send out another email, you can also trigger this action based on the checklist item completion.
Okay.
Thank you.
Isaac's got a question. What is the benefit of using a form as an internal checklist for free, i.e. baked into Jira, instead of using this smart checklist app? So, the benefit of a form as opposed to the internal checklist. I think a lot more functionality just from the side of what the smart template and smart checklist can do, I would guess.
But with the
So
form,
yeah,
go on. Okay, well, the form is again, as I understood the question. So form is kind of and like I have now JSM forms in mind. So this is the way to collect information, right? So you need to fill in certain fields and then you submit the stuff. Whereas with checklist, it's about addressing the issue itself. So you have, for example, if it is a certain template of the checklist, like somebody raises a request to pay a certain vendor, and then the checklist is added with the exact steps how you pay this vendor. So the checklist shows you what to do next, like it's your plan of work. But again, maybe I misunderstood something. Maybe you can elaborate with what's the use case with the forms here?
Isaac, would you like to elaborate or ask a further question? These are all great questions, by the way. This is this is exactly what we love about all of these communities coming together. It's how do we get the tools to do the work for us? Because I know for sure I don't hire my developers to ask the system to do the legwork for them when I want them coding. So Uh, Jesus has a question. Do the checklists use automation to create subtasks, which could also be attempted with the JSM automation?
So I can answer that. You can create a subtask out of a checklist item. Like the main workflow, how people use it is manually. So you just convert checklist into a Jira issue, for example. So that's not something that we've seen people automating with our tool.
Okay.
Yeah, but there is like a built-in feature. So if you see that the checklist item actually would be more efficient to process in the separate Jira issue, you can just easily convert it to the Jira issue. We'll copy the checklist item details, put them into this summary. Not here, sorry. Let's put it here. So if I convert it to the Jira issue, okay. Let me check it. So yeah, there is a separate issue created, and we also link the checklist item to the newly created issue, and mark it as done.
Nice.
So it's also possible.
Did I see if you click the checkbox to the left of one of those issues, like the second from the bottom, that one, if you go over to the other side, so leave it at to do, but then go to the other side on that where it's got the little checkbox on the left.
Here.
If you click, yeah, awesome. That was my question. If you click that box, it automatically moves it to done. Very nice.
Yeah, you're right.
It's
so
those
like
little things that,
teams,
little things.
Yeah,
that
teams
nice.
actually.
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, team prefer just like to click through the checkboxes, but if you need like more transparency, whether the checklist item is in progress or it's in review, or like a lot of technical teams use this, so you can use actually the checklist items as separate test cases, and you can even mark like what test cases failed and what succeeded. So yeah, you can play with those statuses as well.
Very nice.
I see great question from Isaac. Can you report on the status of the checklist item? So you can use JQL for that. You can there is no built-in reporting yet. We're working on that feature, but you can use JQL to see, okay, the show me how many closed or like open items you have in this project with a certain keyword that are, for example, past due date, because you can also assign due dates for the checklist items. So yeah, reportable via JQL search.
Or you can just play with the overall checklist progress, so you can search for the issues where the checklist is not completed or fully completed. It's also a possibility.
Or you can look for all the Jira issues or work items. It's hard to relearn. For all the Jira work items where there is a checklist item that is open that is assigned to a certain person, so something like that.
If it's here, and I guess it is, so yeah, like Julie is referring that we have a separate page where I can see the list of all of the checklist items across all of the issues that are assigned to me. So I can see what's assigned to me, and it's definitely a lot of stuff.
Yeah, and by the way, just today we'll be discussing like the new dashboards that come from Jira, where you can like play with the data from different sources. And yes, we also plan to be integrated there. And we, by the way, for if you're on data center, we have our own gadget for the dashboards. For cloud, as Alexandra mentioned, we have this page with items assigned to a certain person. The rest should be configured on your end.
Actually, we have one more great question about the automations. So yeah, as well with integration. So the question sounds like, can we build the automation rules based on the values of the checklist? For instance, if all of the checklists are done, can we automate the transition to another status or assign to a different person? Yes, it's also possible. So you can play with the checklist progress and with automation. So you can say when the checklist is done, then do any action that is possible in Jira. Transition it to another state, like assign the ticket to a different person. You can do all of this stuff. And
yeah,
we also
sorry, go on.
I guess like you want to talk about the same. So one of the common use cases that we have is actually when the ticket is created, when it progresses through the workflow, you can add specific checklist items that needs to be done. So if we're talking about the technical teams, or when the ticket to implement some of the features is created, when it's in progress, we add the definition of done checklist. When it's in review, we're adding in review checklist. And another cool thing that we actually do is you can control, like you can validate whether the checklist is completed and make it like further, do not allow your teams to complete the issue unless all of the checklist items are completed. So here, my checklist is not fully completed. If I'm trying to move it to done, I can't do it because the smart checklist needs to be completed. If I complete all of the checklist items, then we're unblocked and I can complete the issue. So the checklist is actually not really about having those beautiful checkboxes on the issue, but this is how you can influence how the processes in your organization within Atlassian tools are managed.
And I can add also one common case on when you check the status of the checklist. For example, when people, this is like very common from what we saw, when people complete all the checklist items, they often forget to move the main ticket to done. So you can set up an automation when all the items are checked, you can close the ticket automatically. And yes, Alexandra mentioned, I also like this feature when you block the certain transition if all the checklist items are not complete, or if like certain mandatory checklist items are not complete. That's also possible.
Another question from Susan. Is there a difference between a template created by saving a smart checklist and using smart templates? So yes, there is a difference. We consider it just as different levels of how you can manage your processes. So yes, you're totally correct. Like within the smart checklist, there is also an ability to create templates for checklists. So you can, for example, create the checklist template for definition of done, or for onboarding, for the feature release, like anything. And this is how you can actually document processes inside your organization. But when you have a higher level or process, or the process that you'd like to document can involve different teams. Again, the use case with the onboarding. So in order to complete the onboarding, you need to involve the security team, the HR team, the procurement team, legal team, and so on. Of course, like you can create a huge checklist template for that, and this is how you can manage. But it won't be like that traceable, so you won't see like what is the progress on the task, on the part that legal team needs to do, what is the progress on the part that security team needs to do. Also, those issues can be just on different boards, for example, and this is where smart templates swoop in, and you can document the bigger structure of the processes within smart templates.
Could you please open, sorry for interrupting,
yes.
Could you please open the template with the checklist? I think just to make clear that we're not introducing confusion, so we use the word templates a lot. We have the checklist template, and then like smart template is a separate product for issue templates. And this is kind of just to highlight that those are different. But yes, as Alexandra just shown, there are like checklist templates, and then within the issue templates, you can also use checklist templates. So you can add a checklist to your issue template if you want to.
Yes. So both of the tools are integrated. Like you can play as you wish. So it's pretty flexible to document your process as you wish.
Okay, we have next cool question. Does the checklist support sub-checklists where you can nest or embed a number of checklists within the main line item checklist? So yes and no to some extent. Not as the nested checklist, but what you can do, you can organize your checklist items under headers that helps like to visually organize stuff. And we also recently released a feature with multiple checklists. So you can also organize your, it's available for DC right now. We're working on cloud version, but with the multiple checklist, you can also organize those into kind of sections. But with the nested checklist, we've been receiving this feature request. So I'm very curious about your use case. If you can type in the comments, this would be great to understand like better why, for what case you would love to use that.
just for visibility, like here, how the headers look like. You can also use different levels of headers, so you can make them smaller or bigger like this. And we also have checklist item details. So if you need a description for your checklist item, you can just like paste those description in the checklist item details. So I like how it's flexible. Like you can have just a pretty simple checklist, or you can also add some stuff like headers, details. You can assign checklist items. You can actually even put here the dates if you need to do that. So yeah.
Don't put past date, it's already
Yes.
become red.
Yeah.
In the future.
Okay.
Okay. It looks better.
Yeah, very nice. Any other questions on this? I think oh, there we go. There's your answer from Felix. I think we're really seeing the power of this and what could be done. And again, from a standpoint of purely automating through checklists and templates, all the Jira or JSM issues that come through, especially as a help desk, it's huge, or as an HR onboarding, offboarding process.
Yeah. Also like to mention, I know that community works more on cloud, and Atlassian started to forget what is DC, but we do support it both on both hosting, like on both cloud and DC. So yeah, like I guess like we will be expecting more questions if you have them. And while we're here, like I also want to highlight that let's stay in touch. We're pretty open marketplace vendor. If you have a use case to share, if you have some inconveniences with our app, if you want to request a demo for someone that you know who would benefit from having those tools, please reach out to us. You can also connect with us via the LinkedIn. I'm also pasting right now here all of the links that are here. So yeah, let's stay in touch.
Yeah. Thank you, Julia, and thank you, Alexander, for an amazing presentation. I think again, the power is very obvious in the tool itself. Anything that helps us kind of make a great tool like Jira or JSM even better is always a win. And again, I want to thank not just TitanApps for coming in and presenting to us and sharing all the love and passion that you folks have poured into this tool, but I want to thank our other ACE communities, Boston, Little Rock, Kochi, Cleveland, London, Bhubaneswar, Phoenix, Hyderabad, and Auckland for sharing and co-hosting. Again, this is what makes the Atlassian community so great is we're one big happy family, and at the end of the day, we want to make sure that we're showing and showcasing all these wins to help us in our day-to-day travails as we struggle through our journey on this tool that we all love and hate so much, but ultimately you guys at TitanApps and other great vendors like that are out there, you guys make the tool even better and easier to use, and we appreciate you.
Yes,
Thank you,
for
Vin, for
having
making
us
this
today.
happen
Hosting
and
us.
inviting us.
Yes, hey, always a pleasure. And everyone that joined, thank you again for joining this great presentation. We'll get the video created and get it out there, and we'll share it with you, Yuri, and your team as well, and make sure that anyone that wants to see it has a chance to see it. By all means, let us know. But yeah, thank you one and all for attending, and all of you have a wonderful day going forward. Is there any last minute questions we want to throw and try to stump Julia or Alexandra with?
I just know I'll answer it.
All right. Well, thank you, everyone, and you have a wonderful day.
Thank
Take
you.
care. Have a good
You
one.
too.
Bye-bye.